Hello and welcome everyone to Paradigm, a podcast by Aubergine. Here we talk about how technology has the potential to change human lives, and we hear stories from people who have been there, done that, especially startup founders, entrepreneurs, investors, and so on. And just so that we can spread their knowledge to the aspiring entrepreneurs, we've started this podcast. So today we have a very well rounded personality, especially those who have been on both the sides of the table, being a startup founder as well as an investor. Welcome, PV Bóccasam, also known as Prashant Bóccasam. On the employee side, to start with, he started with Microsoft, and then he decided to take the entrepreneurial leap and start Entivo. And again, a successful exit, another company called Approva in the risk management space, another successful exit. So multiple successful exits. I think he's also done the investor side of things, where he's an advisor to a large private equity firm in India, as well as he runs a family office called Yon Capital. On philanthropy, he has a very interesting initiative of promoting multilingualism. He is associated with Pratham USA, which promotes every child's right to education. So much on the bio. I want to thank you for your time today, PV, for agreeing to be a gracious guest here and share your learnings. Welcome to the show.
Thanks to you for being gracious hosts. I'm just delighted to be here. And look, when people say kind of been there, done that, right? It's actually, I think it's very, for lack of a better word, right? I'd probably say no one, it doesn't apply to anyone, right? Because I think, life's a constant journey. And, the way I would phrase it is, what got you here won't get you there. Right? So the key thing is you have to keep learning.
Especially, all the founders out there all need to get, into that space that every day there's going to be a new challenge. So you've got to be up for the learning that comes with it.
You need to have a combination of both confidence and competence.
Yes.
Right? So you have the confidence that regardless of whether you fail or not, your competency for what you did was always marketable, right?
Yes.
So you could always go back and get a job because you're competent. Yeah. But the confidence to start it, right, has to come from a DNA, right?
Yeah.
And if you don't have the DNA, so to argue that I'm more of an accidental entrepreneur, because I can tell you the very moment I told my mom that I was leaving Microsoft, I was one of the most, youngest directors there, very young, and I was doing quite well. I just bought a brand new home, and I was thinking of getting married, and I just happened to have a very contentious dialogue with my boss's boss, and that was kind of the trigger, right? Which is, he said, you got to work on this. And I said, no, I like to work on this. Okay. He said, no, I have a budget for this, right? I said, well, I've been working on this for a long time. And he says, why are you being, stubborn, right? I said, look, this is something that I believe is going to add a lot of value, right, to Microsoft. And he said, no, I really want you to work on this. And at that time, I don't know if it was a 7-year itch or whatever. I said, hey, look, I'll quit. You know what he said?
Yeah.
I don't think you will.
Oh, wow. Okay. So it's kind of like a challenge.
He said, I don't think you will. Because it is very common, right, for a lot of, especially Indians who moved to the US in the late 80s and the 90s, that working at Microsoft at that time. It was like working at, let's say, Google or
Yeah.
Anthropic or OpenAI, right, where it is today, because they were growing, right? They were adding 5,000 people a year,
Yes.
right? When I joined, there were probably less than, let's say, 3,000 people. When I left, there were more than 35,000 people. But the trigger, right, was that little challenge because I knew that I had the competence. I also knew that I had the confidence to go build something.
Yeah.
And when I saw a market opportunity, so I came actually the next day and I told my then boss, I said, "Hey, I'm going to leave." And he said, "What's going to happen to the project you're working on?" I thought he said it wasn't important. So, well, it's important. I
Yes.
said, "Okay, then here's the deal. You give me the project with the source code. I want to charge you $2 million to maintain that source code. Let me go build a product around it." He said, "Deal." So I walked away with code, with money,
Wow.
to go start my first company called Intivo.
That's
So,
actually innovation in thinking about how do you actually get off the ground, not from zero, but from one. Like that's so.
because one person's thrash,
Yes, is another person's code.
right?
Yes.
Another person's gold.
Yeah.
And at that time, right, companies like Microsoft only thought about billion-dollar enterprises, right? Now they think about 10, 20, $50 billion enterprises.
Yeah.
So if it was less than $1 billion market, it wasn't very interesting for them. But for a startup,
Yeah.
$100 million market is very
Exciting.
interesting to them, right? So I took that code base, right, and I built, a very interesting sort of company in this area of migrations. But to finish up my point around, so when I quit Microsoft, I had to call home, right?
Yes.
And as a good young Indian son, I had to call my mom and dad saying, "Hey, I'm quitting Microsoft to join a good friend of mine, and we're gonna take his company and make it into a product company. I'm gonna build a product, and we're gonna
Yeah.
take this thing to the next level." And at the other end, I started to hear my mom cry.
Yes.
And she goes, and she in disgust, right, gives the phone to my dad. My dad said, "Hey, what's going on?" And she goes, "Well, your mom's very upset about it." So what's she upset about? She goes, "She thinks no one's going to marry you anymore. You're not of
Marriage
manageable
material.
entity." Because when I had the Microsoft tag on it,
Yeah.
right,
Yeah.
I was what do you call a hot commodity.
Yes.
Now that I'm no longer a part of a leading enterprise,
Yes. Yes.
I was not that interesting anymore, right? It goes to show, right? This was almost 40 years ago, right? 30 years ago. The idea, right, that you could be a startup entrepreneur 30 years ago was almost considered, right, a foolhardy business.
Yeah.
You fast forward 30 years, even in India, I see everybody wants to be an entrepreneur. In fact, they wear it as a badge of honor. They are an entrepreneur, even though they're not. They should be working in one of these companies, right? Because entrepreneur is not for everyone, right, and everybody. But it's this idea that when you see something and you feel it in your gut, I don't know it was going to be successful.
Yeah.
I just knew that there was an opportunity within the enterprise that Microsoft was not interested in. So when you think of large companies, they may have large IT departments, right, that know how to manage and build sort of applications, but they didn't have anyone to manage infrastructure,
Yeah.
right? Or they didn't have tools to make their employees more productive or more successful, right? So they said, "Oh, we don't know how to manage customers." Lo and behold, Salesforce and CRM comes about, right?
Right.
Oh, we don't know
Right.
how to manage IT and help desk, right? And we don't know how to, how to create, automate IT workflows. ServiceNow comes
ServiceNow
about.
comes about. Yes.
So a lot of the large companies start with a small genesis
problem.
and a very small problem that ends up being a massive industry.
Yeah. And from being an insider at Microsoft who actually saw that those problems firsthand, did you think that played a big role in your idea that you got that, okay, this is a problem that I could solve? Or was it through some other ways that you found that this was the problem?
It's a great question. So when you're in a very large company, right? And it's true even today. So even the biggest companies in the world have this fallacy of underestimating nascent markets, and gives rise to, and it isn't necessarily arrogance, right, in most cases. And it's not necessarily even negligence, okay? It is the inertia in the system that says, why do I have to disrupt, right, my current business in thinking about biting into my own pie, right? So they don't think in terms of growing the pie. Big companies think about it in terms of protecting the pie.
And that's where sometimes their decisions are safer, on the safer side.
Exactly.
Especially Apple not having much of an AI game right now.
Like one of the best businesses ever built, right, in mankind is Google, right? I mean, imagine on a free internet, right, giving you one edit box, right? You're a great UI designer, right? Have they changed their design in 30 years?
No.
No, right? Because they've stuck to the fact that people are going to enter keywords, hit search, I'm going to show you a bunch of green links.
Yes.
But the power behind that, right, was this page ranking algorithm that allowed them to create a virtual monopoly, right, on unbelievable amount of business, which is generating 50, 60, 70 billion dollars worth of profit, which is unheard of. So if you think about opportunities today, AI is a perfect opportunity to go disrupt the search business.
Yes.
Because people are not going to go to Google to search. They might go to Gemini to go search, right? So they have an inherent advantage, right, of being able to extend their value proposition. But I would argue that there's another Google in the making, right, where you're not going to search on keywords. You're going to search on something completely different.
Or have a more smarter search results, like something that is like a brainstorming session like you do with AI right now, right? Like, help me find the right thing with this particular features, or that can help me with my this need.
Exactly.
It's more of having a conversation with someone.
Exactly. You use exactly the right verb, right? Find. People don't want to search things.
Yeah.
People want to find things.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Search is the medium, was the medium.
Exactly.
But now it's search plus find together.
And I think it goes one more, right? Which is, tell me something, right, that allows me to act on it. Right? That's why I think agentic architectures are going to be a part of the future, because don't just help me find it, right? If I can say, find me the speaker, right, that is latest, which I already know that these gentlemen have approved, right? You already have access to my Apple Pay credit card. Go buy it for me. Right? And make sure it has a 30-day return guarantee if I don't like it. Right? Which it probably already has. Right? So that's what I'm saying is that, there's this huge opportunity to go from search to find.
Let us switch gears into some other areas that we want to talk about today, especially your turnaround leadership that you have played in some companies, especially when they have kind of hit a wall and then they're trying to get into the next territory. Walk us through some of your experiences around that, if you would.
Yeah. There are two parts to it, right? So I've had the unique opportunity of building multiple companies right from the ground zero. You can imagine a time in 1997, right, roughly about 29 plus years ago, where there was not a single VC in Redmond,
Wow.
in Seattle.
Okay.
They were in San Francisco,
Yes.
and they were on the East Coast. That's it,
Okay.
right? So one of my investors said, hey, it's great that you're leaving Microsoft. You got a great pedigree. We did some background check on you and your partner. But you have two options, my friend.
Okay.
You move to San Francisco
Uh,
or you move East Coast. Your choice. And his choice for me was you move to the West Coast because I have my office there, my secretary there. I'm going to introduce you to two amazing human beings who play a very important role in my life moving forward. I just happened to, and my other partner was already in the East Coast. So the drag really was on the East Coast. Otherwise, I would have loved to have been on the West Coast.
so what year was that?
This was in '97.
97. So way before all this video conferencing or all that were in place, right?
Yeah, it was just around
That's
the
why
time
you
of
had
the
to be
internet,
co-located, and that was very important, I think, co-location.
right? When a VC, right, would say, "Look, sorry, I'm not going to fund you in Seattle, but what we will do is allow you to build a product from India."
Oh,
How cool is that?
wow. Okay.
So there was a very famous venture capitalist who's known as a father of venture capital in the US.
Oh,
Okay, his name is Bill Draper. Okay,
okay.
so William Draper, Bill Draper, is one of the most amazing human beings. He's probably in his late 80s, 90s right now, and he was a world traveler.
Okay.
So he had a very specific fund, okay, called the OPIC Fund, specifically focused on backing Indian entrepreneurs from India with Indian background in 1990s.
Wow. Okay.
We just happened to luck upon finding him, and he gave us the first couple of $1 million to go start what became NTVO in India that we started in Pune. And we were the first company in India to offer stock options.
Wow.
The first company. We worked with RBI to create what's called a cashless exercise of options,
Okay.
right? Because you have to buy your options.
your options.
Well, I don't have the money to buy options. Well,
Right.
we created an option where at the time of exit, we just deduct what you owed us and we give you a check.
So innovation is not only in the product, but the way you conduct business and the way you can compensate employees and create wins for them as well.
100%.
That's such a great learning from this activity.
You
right?
nailed it, right? I mean, exactly. It is this idea that people think innovation only comes from technology.
Yeah.
It can come from business model innovations, come from market categories. It could come from how you compensate people.
Yeah.
Innovation is not technology, right?
Yeah,
And technology is not innovation,
Yeah.
right? What it is, can you rethink a problem in a new way that allows other people to value you more? That is what I think is very unique about in today's world. It's just about anyone can change the trajectory of their industry
Right.
in ways that is unimaginable. So I want the viewers, right, of your podcast, hope it reaches hundreds of thousands of entrepreneurs, that they have the power to decide and change the course of today's conversation
Yeah.
by their own role.
So let's talk about your journey as an investor. And I think after selling NTVO and Approva, you also then onboarded to some companies as an investor.
That's correct.
And I think Appian is one of the companies. Maybe walk us through how did you adapt to the new role? Because earlier you were the one driving things, and now you are giving that harness to the others, and now you are kind of hoping the best happens. So please walk us through that.
It so happened roughly after 15 years, close to 15 years, the investors who backed my startups said, PV, you made us a little bit of money. They almost kind of intervened with me and my wife actually and said, why don't you come on the other side of the table?
Okay.
We have a lot of portfolio companies, early stage companies, that after a while they get stuck, right? 0 to 1 is very, very hard, as you know. 1 to 10 is actually not that hard, right? Once you get to $1 million, doing it 10 more times is not that hard, right?
You kind of get that flywheel effect going.
You get that flywheel. But then at 10, something happens again,
Yeah.
right? All your best customers start complaining. They're asking for more features, and then you get greedy. You want to do this, you want to do that. Suddenly you want to, be in 3 different categories.
Yeah.
Right.
How much of it goes to the setting systems thing? Because I think going to 10, whatever systems work for you, I've seen it stops working after that.
Exactly, right? I think you're spot on, right? So what happens is what works from 0 to 1 will not work from 1 to 10. And to break that $10 million ARR sort of barrier, you need to, again, reframe the question, right? And in most cases, sometimes whatever you believed, you have to unbelieve, right?
Okay.
Or you have to undo in some cases,
Unlearn it, yes.
right? So this is constant process of learning, unlearning. The 10 to 40 journey actually is very, very interesting. And something happens between 20 and 40 again, right? Then 40 to 100 is actually quite easy.
Okay.
Right? So you can actually double quite easily, right? But something again happens at $100 million mark. You can get 100 to 400. Something magically again happens at 400. Okay. 400 to $1 billion. But once you're at $1 billion to 10 billion is actually not that hard.
Wow. Okay.
Right? So what happens is, now these numbers are rough, right? The point is that there are some critical crucible points, right, in your journey that forces you to rethink all of your assumptions, right? And so I think you've probably seen even in India, right?
Yeah.
How companies like Zepto and a lot of these companies who came from nowhere created an entire category of quick commerce. And you were so kind to just order a mouthwash for me. It came before I finished breakfast.
Yeah.
Right? Which doesn't even happen in the US.
Yeah.
Right? If someone had told you this 20 years ago, would you have believed it?
No. All you had was the kid in the house going to the nearest provision store and getting that for you. That's all.
Exactly.
Yes.
Now it employs an entire ecosystem. Thousands and thousands of people work in a category that did not exist before. Right?
Yes.
So a big part, right, of this journey from being an entrepreneur to an investor is to figure out a pattern of not as much of, can I go find other PVs, right? Which is not the intent.
Yeah.
Are there other people that share the same traits, right? Who are perennially dissatisfied with the status quo.
Someone who really wants to shake things up and do something disruptive.
Exactly, right? So in most cases, people think, especially for VCs, right? And I'm so glad that you're not a VC-backed business. You've organically built your business, haven't you?
Yes.
Kudos to you and Bhakti, right? Because what happens is VCs think they have the answers, but they don't.
Okay.
Right? They may have the money, they may have a perspective, they may have a point of view, but it's loosely held. Right? So there again comes this notion of a contradiction, which is, can you have a very strong point of view, but very loosely held? Because as you're getting new data sets,
Mm-hmm.
are you willing to change your perspective?
Yeah. And does it align with your goals as an investor?
And does the entrepreneur see something that you're not able to see?
Yeah.
Right? And vice versa.
And vice
Right?
versa,
So
yes.
that's why I think for venture-backed companies, it can be a great tango or it can be a nightmare. Right? It's like sleeping in the same bed, dreaming two different dreams. It's a nightmare.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? So in most cases, venture capital, right, and entrepreneurs, if it works, it's like a marriage. But in some cases, it turns out to be so bad that it actually has a negative impact of ever having taken money from outside investors. So you have to be very careful for entrepreneurs that are watching the show. They have to be extremely careful about who they take money from. Because not all money is green, right? It may look green, it may taste green, but it may have a very toxic impact on their business. So in the example of how I wanted to be an investor is that I always wanted to invest with an operator lens,
Okay.
right? But I also wanted to learn as an operator how to think like an investor. Where should I put my money? Because as an entrepreneur, right, we're hungry.
Now you have the money. Now you have to decide where to.
Exactly, right? As an
that
entrepreneur,
money.
you're hungry.
How can you put that money to use for your business
Business.
and growth? Yeah.
So as an entrepreneur, I'm hungry. When I'm hungry, I want to eat everything.
Yeah.
Correct?
Yeah.
If I give you $1 for your business, how much am I going to lose?
$1.
$1. If I don't invest $1 in your business and you become the next Flipkart, how much money do I lose?
Huge multiple of it. Yeah.
Right? So in our business, it is truly the opposite. Right?
Right.
It is the opportunities that I didn't get to invest that cost me more than the $1 I gave you and I lost the $1.
Yes.
There's only a 1x loss, right? I cannot lose more money than I put.
Yes.
If I don't put money in and I had the opportunity to invest in the Microsoft or
Yes.
any of these famous unicorns that you have here, I've lost out on the opportunity because I did not understand the perspective of the entrepreneur. So what I'm saying is that there are opportunities that as an entrepreneur, you see it, but as an investor, you may not.
Right.
So how investing in opportunities that you may not fully believe in, but have conviction on the entrepreneur that they're going to
That they're
succeed,
going to succeed.
is something that you have to change your DNA
Yeah.
because it's not your idea anymore,
It's not your idea anymore.
right? So Appian was one of these ideas, right, where the entrepreneur had a great idea, right, of building these business process management solutions
Okay.
to design using workflows, complex workflows in a very generic sense.
Okay.
Okay. So that company I saw transition in the early 1990s from being a services company to a product company. From a product company to an enterprise product company, like enterprise class.
Enterprise client.
From enterprise class product company to what I call hosted SaaS, or what I call ghetto SaaS, right? Like the application hosted. From hosted applications to being true SaaS. From true SaaS to cloud, now cloud to AI. So I've seen all 5 transformations
Of the same company.
of the same company where they've gone from using flow charts and all that stuff that you do typically on a large canvas,
Right.
to now literally you can hand draw a workflow, put it into a transformer, and it produces an entire code at the back end.
Wow. Okay. And that's the transformation that the entrepreneurs kind of had a vision for already, or
They were forced to make
they
that
were forced to
transition.
make the transition?
If they had not made that transition, they would have stayed a $10 million company when I invested. Today, they're $800 million in revenues.
Wow.
right? Hopefully looking to touch $1 billion in ARR,
Right.
right? So at each stage, each one of those transitions could have killed them,
Yeah.
right? So as I think of any business, right, whether it's companies like them or yours, right, your business is going through a massive transformation,
Yeah.
right? So I'd pose a question back to you, Sarthak, right? How is today's world of AI transforming your business, which was largely time and materials, right, placing
Yeah.
bodies,
Yeah.
right? How is that going to change your perspective in enabling your next 10 years of growth?
Right. So it's an interesting pivot point right now that we are all going through in the industry, and the true time and material kind of models that were there earlier, that this is no longer feasible because of the way AI has reduced the time it takes to do things. And if you just do the same amount of um, delivery in terms of the final outcome that you did, then you'll end up billing maybe 1/4 of the amount, because you'll get there in 1/4 of the time. So we have to think about how do we charge for the value we created, instead of just making it a time and materials based thing. Outcome driven cost models, I think, are going to be there. Another thing we are trying to see is how do we have that 10x attitude in the company. That
Interesting.
every person is 10x of themselves. Because if we imagine the company at 10x revenue, do we imagine 10x headcount? In 2026, it would be a very wrong way of looking at it.
Indeed.
I would say.
Indeed. Yep.
In fact, the game and the winner will be decided by who can do the best outcome driven service delivery, um, and how can they charge better for it, where
That's
the
right.
customers also actually gain. And in fact, the customers are gaining two ways, I would think. They are paying less for the deliveries, right, but they are also getting to market faster, and hence the opportunity cost that they used to spend earlier in building that product for an year and then launching is also now squeezed.
That's right.
So then the entrepreneurs will end up spending less in that risk zone, and they may end up dumping the idea and joining another company for a job
Indeed.
afterwards, right?
Indeed.
So the cost is even lower that way.
Yeah.
So there's multiple ways to think about it.
Right. So I think you bring up three great points, right? One is it's not the future, it is here now.
Yeah, it
This
is
is
now.
not something theoretical, right?
Yes.
This is happening right
We are
now as we
already
speak.
trying it with a few. Yes.
Right. Number two is what I tell companies, right, and any entrepreneur is, when you find yourself in a hole, right, everybody, I don't care which industry, which company, except maybe for NVIDIA, right, or maybe one or two companies,
Yeah.
they're in a hole. You know what the first rule is when you find yourself in a deep hole? Stop digging.
Yeah.
First hole.
Yes.
The second rule is you find out what kind of tools you have to get out of that hole. So if you have a spoon, right, you have to replace it with a shovel. If you have a shovel, you have to replace it with a caterpillar, right? You know, and you can build on an analogy, right?
Yeah.
That's how you get out. So you have to retool yourself to get out of that hole.
Yes.
That's the second point.
Absolutely.
Right? The third point is that if you don't, right, you're going to be buried.
You're buried. Yes.
And you're going to bury your company with it and the people who work there.
People who work there.
Right? And as an entrepreneur, our number one goal is to make sure that our associates and employees are a growth engine. So the analogy that I use, right, is that if this is your growth curve, right, your employee growth curve has to be like this. In most cases, it's like this.
It's like that.
So over time,
The company goes. Yeah,
the
that's such a
company becomes at the level of their best employees.
best employees.
But if it's like this, right, the company has to be like this.
Yeah.
Because the employees are pushing the growth of the company,
Yeah.
right? So much so that extreme is what you're seeing at OpenAI and Anthropic. Because the Anthropic guy was at OpenAI.
Yeah.
He knew that they were not pushing the issue around governance that perhaps you and I disagree on, perhaps a little bit. That's what's happening, right? Is that there is this huge driver.
Yeah.
Now, the third point you made is that if you don't do this for your employees, it's going to affect your hiring as well. Because if you imagine the enterprise, right, and the people in the enterprise as they were climbing ladders, right,
Yeah.
and steps on a ladder or rungs on a ladder, I would argue that the first few rungs of the ladder are gone already.
Yeah.
Already.
Already it's gone.
And the people who are on the third ladder, sort of the tech leads, dev leads, tech managers, they're also going to fall off the rung.
Yeah. I mean, they have to catch.
They have to get to the next one. Otherwise, they're definitely going to fall.
Otherwise, they are gone.
Right?
Yes.
Because I spend a lot of time. In fact, my wife and all my friends says, PV, you should have been a recruiter. Because at any given time, and I know I keep sending to Bhakti,
Yeah.
how many resumes do I send you guys?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because I have literally an army of young graduates from Yale, from Harvard, from Brown, from Purdue, from all over these places, right? Who literally cannot find a job. So if you look at the job sites today from 24 to 25, placement rates,
Placement rates are
they've gone from
abysmally
70% to 45%.
45%. It's a disruption.
It is a complete disruption,
Yes.
right? So the question is, right, how do you tackle these three issues
Yeah.
in ways that are fundamentally very different? So now when I do interviews, it doesn't matter what level. I don't ask them what's in the resume, right? Going back to the discussion we had around being there, done that, immaterial,
Yes.
right? That resume only got you to this chair. It doesn't matter what the hell you did before.
Yeah.
Tell me what your new thinking is. Tell me what your new perspective is. Tell me what your new point of view is. Tell me why you are different than the next guy or gal because they have the same tool as you.
Yeah.
So now, I don't care what answers you have. What I care about is what question have you not asked,
Yeah.
right? What is your point of view? If AI has such a profound effect on services companies,
Right.
we're going to start to see massive reduction in payroll labor, which is your biggest cost today, shifting to IT labor
Yes.
or agentic labor,
Agent.
right?
Okay.
So for all SaaS companies, one advice I give them is don't go after the IT budget. Go after the payroll budget because there's more money there,
More money there. Yeah.
right? And it's even true, right? So the second biggest cost of any large business is real estate. So imagine if this real estate
That's
actually
tied together, right?
tied together,
Yes.
right? So what, which is why actually the model of WeWork works now,
Yeah.
not them, because I can plug and play anywhere, right? Talent could be anywhere.
Absolutely.
So that is the power behind what's happening is that you have coupling and decoupling happening at the same time.
Yeah.
It is a machine activity.
It's a combined, I would say machine plus human in the loop, right? Because keeping the context of what you are actually solving for, AI is still not there yet, I would say.
It'll never be
Humans,
there. Yes. In the post-AI world, there's only three things that's left for humans to do. The first one we already talked about, which is being an Imagineer,
Okay.
right? Or a Reimagineer,
Reimagine.
right? Once you're an Imagineer, right? The only other job that's left for you, right? In the Imagineer, obviously, you control the concept and the context,
Yeah.
right? Because the context is yours, the concept is yours, which an AI will never do. The second is, once I have the concept and the context in place, The only thing that's left for me to do, right, is govern, right? The governance and the judgment required that you operate within my context and my concept. Don't give me some random ideas.
Right.
If I give you a blue sky, don't show me a red pebble. The third thing that is uniquely left, right, for humans, which only humans can do and only humans can undo, is helping each other. If you give AI or agents an outcome or a goal, they will destroy each other. We've already seen tremendous amount of this thing
We've seen that, yeah.
already.
Even an agent hacked into the McKinsey AI ecosystem recently, and then so much exposure right now going on.
And you also saw in this recent OpenClaw bot, right?
Yes.
What happened?
All the
They created their
secrets.
own religion.
Yeah.
They created their own social network. They started asking questions. Hey, if I told my human agent what I'm doing to you, what would he or she think? So we've already seen this, right? And this is, by the way, not new. Microsoft had first introduced a chatbot called Tay, T-A-E,
TAE.
the Tay bot, I think it was called.
Okay.
In one day, that bot that was introduced as a harmless way, the entire internet trained it to be a racist, trained it to be all of the things that you didn't want to do, because it took all the worst
Worse.
of the internet and fed itself. So the question is, can you have the governance? Can you have the judgment and the taste, right? The concept and the context to govern what's happening that's uniquely human. Everything else can be automated or should be automated, right? And now again, it comes back to this beautiful theme that you have in Aubergine, right? Which is, how do you deal with the duality, right? Because on one hand, you're saying, Elon Musk says, don't bother saving. Sarthak, tell your son, no reason for you to save money anymore, because you don't need money. You have Vinod Khosla, a month ago, basically says, everyone is going to have universal basic income. Doctors are going to be free. Researchers are going to be free. Everything is going to be free, right? On the other hand, you have people like Jeffrey Hinton, who's a godfather of AI, saying this is going to be a disaster for us if we don't control this.
Yeah.
You have people like Dario Amodei, right, who just had a fight with $1 trillion customer.
Yeah.
$1 trillion, that's what this $1 trillion customer, he
Over
says,
ethical.
over ethical issues. Because once you let the cat out of the bag, there is no way you can go to bring it back in.
Yes.
So I have been arguing, if you go back 3-4 years on LinkedIn, this idea of AI governance and this idea of self-determination, self-regulation doesn't work. And the reason I believe I have this very strong point of view, it goes back to my entrepreneurial roots of Approver. You know how Approver got started, Sarthak? It got started on a very, very simple event. I was having a drink with one of my neighbors, okay? And I had sold my previous company, Intivo, and I had moved to Houston. And around the same time, 3 world events happened.
Okay.
First was 9/11.
That's
Okay.
weird. Yeah.
A month later, there was a corporate 9/11 that happened that no one remembers. It was called Enron. When Enron fell, and I was in Houston at that time, every home in my market, in the market that I was in, okay, was up for sale because they were all Enron executives there, living like large subs. Okay?
Yeah.
They all wanted to sell the real estate, right? The Enron guy was a Harvard MBA. His boss, Ken Lay, was in jail, okay, because they had $100 billion business revenues
Revenues.
at that time.
At that time.
It went bust like that, right? Because they got so creative in their financial accounting process that they thought they could sell anything, right? That was the second big event that happened. The third big thing that happened was because of these two, right? The entire ecosystem, right? Including the internet. The dot-com
The dot-com bust 2000.
bust happened, 2001, right? And in that tufan, right, I asked a very simple question to my neighbor who happened to be a partner at Arthur Andersen, which was the largest Big Four auditing firm in the world. They had $30, $40 billion in revenues, bigger than PwC, EY at that time. I said, how does it happen that a $100 billion company like Enron goes bust and a $40 billion revenue company like Arthur Andersen, whose partners lost money after 30, 40 years of work? It was true even in 2001. People knew that Enron were cooking their books, right? We knew that the internet bubble was completely inflated. But it took an external event like 9/11 to expose all of the underlying frailties of the system. Just like now, right? The underlying supply chain risk,
What is
oil
the
risk,
similarity you see right now with that?
because the supply chain risk that we're seeing, right? So the point being, right, if the only role, right, that is left for humans in the AI world are those three things that I talked about,
Yeah.
right? What are we going to do for the next generation that changes how they think about using technology? Because the dichotomy exists, right? On one hand, they're saying no jobs, you don't need a job, you don't need a salary because I'm going to give you a universal basic income. So what am I supposed to do?
Yeah.
What
What will motivate people?
will motivate people to do?
We have this brain that we have to use.
We have to use. What am I going to do if everything is free? So I think this cognitive dissonance is a great way to come back to human values and say, what is left? What is left of those three things we just talked about? The concept and the context, right? Human judgment and taste,
Yeah.
and the governance, right, of what is ethical.
So governance, let me get to that, right? So
Sure.
when you are a small startup trying to solve some problems, you want to first focus on the problem and not worry about whether this will be shut down by the government or whether it is, being influenced by racist data or not. I just want to sell. I want to first find my first customer and then solve for these problems later.
Sure.
How do you, I don't agree with governance like from day zero. What is your take on it?
We have to respectfully disagree, right? One example is in facial recognition, right? Or any kind of recognition technology. It's been around for a long time. So in the US, for example, systems have wrongly identified a license plate, right? A stolen license plate, and innocent people have gotten arrested,
Oh, wow. Okay.
right? And if they happen to be of different color, or happen to be of a different race, you're first thrown in jail,
Wow. Okay.
and then we'll investigate.
Yeah. So basic guardrails still need to be there to ensure such drastic events
Now-
will not happen.
I'm not saying don't use facial recognition or object recognition to identify high-speed, plates breaking the rules, right? But someone has to have a guardrail that basically said, let us measure twice, cut once, right? Of course, I am a technologist.
Understood.
Of course, I want technology to automate things.
Yeah.
But before you arrest the person, ask and verify twice.
Got it. Yeah, exactly. So it's not just completely system driven, AI driven, but adding the human in the
Human judgment
human judgment.
and taste to it. So, Apurva, the entire premise was this, which was, who is going to audit the auditors? That was the fundamental question
Risk
I
and
asked.
compliance. Yes.
That became risk and compliance. I'm saying that if you don't trust your auditor, who else are you going to trust? So when you see $40 billion,
auditing the auditor?
who's going to audit the auditor? That was the question I asked.
Yeah.
And you know what he said? He said, PV, if I tell you how auditing is done today, you'd be surprised. I said, describe it to me. You know what he said? He said, it is like cutting the entire White House lawn with a pair of scissors. That is how it is done today. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because the last innovation to hit them before Microsoft Excel was a calculator and a pencil.
Wow. Okay.
So we became an automated platform that protected both parties.
That was a tailwind that also got approval.
Yes.
Buy-in that people would.
This was-
I need this thing.
This was pre-Sarbanes-Oxley. So we were the genesis of an entire regulation
Right.
that got created called Sarbanes-Oxley, which then became another act called Graham-Breach-Liley Act, which
Right.
also became a big thing because banks went down, companies went down,
Yeah.
economies went down. So what I'm saying is that governance is like a shock absorber.
Yeah.
Governance requires and designs in shocks in the system
Yeah.
that you can be resilient.
So entrepreneurs need to build something that governance is possible at the right stage and very early on as much as possible without affecting their business and causing any adverse effects on any other entities.
And all that is true. And build a system that's resilient. Because you have to have systems that has been designed to fail
Right.
and recover.
So interesting that you have been, in thick of things when you were turning around companies. What role do you see agencies like us playing in such stories? I have some good instances to share, but I would love to know your perspective if you've seen any use for companies like us in there.
Yeah, it goes back to, can you bring in the expertise, right, from the outside in,
Right.
right? Is there a way to reimagine,
Yeah.
right, rephrase the problem, right, with a question that they haven't asked themselves?
So that is the thing that I've seen in some like very large companies who are selling to Fortune 500s, and they are not able to see where they can innovate, and that's where we as a design firm and engineering firm have come in and helped them see what they were not seeing. They were seeing the inverted image of themselves, whereas we came in and we were brought in to actually come with that outsider's perspective and bring in that change. And that has been a driving story and motivating story for us as well.
Absolutely, right?
Yeah.
The role that you play for any company is forcing the customer, your customer, to put the customer's customer
Yes.
in the context.
In the context. Yeah.
Right? So you bring the customer's context into the equation, which I can't find. I only see my customer,
Yeah.
right? I only see me. You're abstracting out, right, the value. So that is the perspective that I find folks like yours, and which is why I recommend you all as a key partner, right, in their growth, because the ability to articulate, right. The one comment I would make, in addition to sort of the three sort of the context and the concept part that I mentioned around AI, the underlying theme of it is communication. Right?
Yeah.
Just how do you express yourself in ways that is not only unique to you, but every individual, right, learns and communicates in different ways.
Yeah. And I think to wrap it off, I would want to just check with you on what are you doing these days and how are you keeping busy. And you've actually given us a lot of inspiration about entrepreneurship and why comfort zone does not lead to anything good, and how you can make a good life for yourself and a satisfying life, which will not lead to regrets later. I think that is one of the few key takeaways from this. But yeah, tell us how about what's PV doing these days?
No, Sarthak, I think what keeps me motivated is to meeting people like you and Bhakti, right? Because it reminds me, because I'm I'm now, closer to my 60s, and I'm a couple of years away now. But what keeps me young, right, and motivated is to work with young people, right? So, as you know, I love golf. I'm not a great golfer, but I love the concept of golf, right? I love the physiology of golf,
Okay.
and that's the way I think. So I moved my role from being a golfer to being a caddy.
Okay.
A caddy, right, is someone who's on the side of a golfer,
Okay.
whose only job, right, is when asked, when prompted, to give the golfer the conditions. Conditions, that's it,
Conditions. That's it.
right? And potentially things to watch out for in that particular situation. It's a journey that we are on where my only goal by being a sage by your, sage
by
that's
your-
not on stage,
Okay. Wow. Okay. That's insightful. A sage that's not on the stage.
not on the stage,
Wow. Okay.
or a guide by your side, however you want to think about it. But I am a caddy. So there's this fine balance between telling you about all the obstacles, right, which you also see. You see the tree, I see the tree. You see the water, I see the water.
Yes.
But how do I guide you as a caddy so you can execute the perfect shot? Not just because you're capable of executing it. My job is that when you get there, when the ball gets there,
Gets there.
I want it to be the easiest next shot for you.
Shot for you. Yeah.
That is my role. So what motivates me is just to help you execute today so that your next move is the easiest move you ever made.
And I think a lot of entrepreneurs would actually appreciate having someone, a stage, not on the stage, kind of a role, guide by your side kind of a role. Because I think a lot of times they are just blindsided by a lot of other things. So having that guiding light always helps. In Indian mythology, we have Krishna and Arjun, right? So, I mean, that's a good analogy.
That's a
right?
great, yeah, in our Sanatana Dharma, right?
Yes.
That's a great way to put it. But the only difference is, right, the caddy or the sage by your side should not think they're God.
Yes,
That's the only difference.
that is true.
Because in this case, I do not want to be worshipped,
Yes.
right? Because I am as human as
Yeah.
anyone else.
Yeah.
And I tell people all the time, I think I've told you this all the time, I know, unlike Krishna, I know that I am 99.9% wrong. But do you know what the difference is? I know I'm not confused. There's a difference between that.
Yeah.
It is not okay to be confused.
Yeah.
You can have a perspective, like I said.
Yeah.
But you could have a good perspective that is lightly held. It's no problem, right? If someone says, hey, here's an alternative evidence, I have to change my mind, right? That's a reality that I have to accept. So that's the difference between this metaphor. I appreciate you giving the metaphor.
Yeah.
But we should not confuse. Right? Yeah. So the person on the stage should be always entrepreneur, the CEO. My role is, how do I maximize their potential? Not of executing the current job at hand, but making it easier for their next move to make. That is the most important perspective that I can offer for people who are trying to be in my sort of role. And the change in perspective, right, is that I don't need the spotlight. All the money, in the world, won't change my materially what my life looks like. But I want them to be so successful that they could take all of the wealth that they have, right, and contribute back to society, whether it's for children,
Got it.
whether it's for their favorite cause that they have. I don't want, I don't want it to distract, right, from
Yeah.
what I want to pursue, because I don't care to be, the next, CEO, because it's not what drives me.
Okay.
But if I can make my people that I'm coaching, the next Satya or the next Sundar Pichai,
Yeah.
that is going to be my win.
Awesome. All right. So this has been so insightful. Thank you so much, PV, for all the time, and lovely speaking with you.
Thank you, Sarthak, and thank you to you and Aubergine. And you've been great partners, and you're one of my favorite set of people to have along my journey of learning.
Cool. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thanks.
Wonderful. Good job.